everybody in their seats. We'll be ready to begin our assembly here in just a moment. Make sure you keep your cell phones off if you're not using those during the assembly. We are fortunate today to have a group from Southeastern Oklahoma State University, their theater department, here to put on a play for us. I think you'll enjoy that. It should last about 45 to 50 minutes. So this time we'll go ahead and turn it over to the theater department at Southeastern Oklahoma State University.
Thank you very much. And then we'll do Q&A. I'll ask you to go down the line, introduce yourself, tell what your classification is, and where you're from. My mentor and predecessor was a woman named Dr. Molly Riso. She had written an adaptation of Hamlet, about a 45, 50-minute version of Hamlet, called The Time Is Out of Joint, a study of Hamlet.
Before we came to Durant, we lived in San Antonio. My mother was the director of theater at MacArthur High School. She took a small cast and she adapted Hamlet into a one-act play version that used all the other characters as what she called fates. So they played multiple characters, but only Hamlet stayed the same. When she came here, we took that one-act play version and cut it down even more to a touring production of Hamlet that only had 7 people in it.
Years later, I received permission from the Riso family to do a re-edit on it and to rethink it. I also then used some of the research of her mentor, a guy named Paul Baker, who, among many other things, founded the Dallas Theater Center. And he had written a version of Hamlet called Hamlet ESP.
Hamlet ESP is based off of the premise that Hamlet is split into 3 different people.
Instead of one Hamlet and a group of fates that circled Hamlet, I chose to split it into 3, representing the heart, the intellect, and the rage or the passion. It's so hard, especially in this scene. You have to fight rage. It is inconceivable. It is ridiculous. It is frustrating beyond belief. But don't let it get into rage.
One to on the dot, yeah.
Oh God, I woke up at 3 a.m. yesterday.
Yeah, 3. He will.
Because we had to be at the Playhouse at 4:30, and I hadn't packed yet. So.
I Googled it because I didn't know Southeastern was a school. And I took a tour around the theater and Dale showed me everything. And he told me that I could double major and be able to do everything because a lot of the big schools that wanted me for speech and debate told me that I could not do speech and debate and theater. And so when I found out I could do everything here, that's when I knew I was coming.
Me and Charles Jackson was also on the show. We went to a college together in Texas called Ranger College, and we were doing speech and debate. And we were at a tournament in Tulsa, and we both got recruited by the speech and debate coordinator. Got picked up by Del McClain. He just saw fresh blood and scooped us up.
I came to Southeastern because of my high school theater teacher. Her name was Amber Harrington. She went here whenever Del was a teacher here or just got back to become a teacher here. So she thought it would be a good fit, and it was great.
I was selected as a stage manager / tour buddy / help us carry all the things. My high school drama teacher actually went to Southeastern and highly, highly recommended it because she had studied under Molly Riso and she loved the school, so ended up here.
Ashley and Justice were not happy with my alarms this morning.
I was fine with it.
Ashley was like,
Selfies for Dell.
Southeastern is actually the alma mater of the woman I claim to be my mother, Ruby Quinn, and she encouraged me to find a school that was not only way more affordable, but also something that had like a theater program that would actually teach me everything I needed to know here in Oklahoma.
Yesterday we performed at Tulsa School of Arts and Sciences and it was really good. We were very well received by the audience.
This one girl said that she read it and then they made them. The teacher made them watch the movie, and she still didn't get it. And then whenever she watched our version of Hamlet, she was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So
it's amazing when you go out to the schools. We get several reactions. Shakespeare? Really? Trust me, you'll be okay. And they are loving it. And, of course, we're giving it, we bring it to them for free. And so their expectation is it can't be very good, quite frankly. In the school year of 2008, 2009, I took a sabbatical to New York City where we had alumni up there working day jobs and doing theater.
He got a cast of alumni together up in New York, and he developed the script, and they performed it up there.
So we rented the Blackbird Theater in Midtown, rehearsed in everybody's apartment for about a month, and then 1 week we put the show up, and it was great. But it was also great to take Molly's work and her mentor, Paul Baker's work, and to the best of my ability sort of take this sort of teaching heritage, the sort of my ancestry of teaching, and try to honor it and use it and support it and give it to my students. So the next step when I returned to Oklahoma was to then now cast it among college students and take it to the public schools and to arts centers around our region.
Wow. Maybe go on stage. It's okay.
The development of the production was always very clear to me. It was going to be 6 actors, a trunk with a few props, and a couple of acting blocks.
and then it drops.
And then we ask each place that we visit to provide us with 6 chairs. And so it's just the smallest of hand props, no elaborate costume changes, just the actor and the stage.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles by opposing end.
In television, you're called viewers. In a theater, it's an audience. It's auditory. You listen to the words. And so we definitely wanted to try to make that our case.
Thank you very much.
I thought it was great. I loved the dividing Hamlet into 3 characters. I thought that was really cool. I had some students in here where we've just studied Hamlet in one of our classes, and so I think for them that was really interesting to, it's a condensed version of the story, but kind of hits the main points of the plot.
One, go.
The selection process for students to be involved in the tour is unique.
I want everybody to notice that my personal dressing room, which is just because I'm the only one that found it, is labeled the Shrews Shrine, which is really accurate now that I'm in here.
I became a Hamlet my freshman year because it was the first audition I ever went to.
It wasn't something that you just went up to somebody and was like, I want to be in Hamlet. It was that you had to be asked.
He'll see your hard work throughout either classes or you actually going into productions, and then he'll say, hey, listen, I like what you got. Come audition for me and see if I like it even further so you can have a role.
What I really remember is coming from my junior college, real fast I learned that it was more like boot camp. They kind of run us through the hoops. The ones that were selected were the ones that were taking it more seriously than others.
The Hamlet cast has always been handpicked out of our best students, out of the students who exemplify all of the attributes that we hope to send out into the professional world.
I mean, it's an absolute honor to be selected as a select few, knowing that the faculty had trusted us and saw something in us, and they knew that we would be able to take on that extra responsibility, because it definitely was extra work on top of everything else that we had already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look for students in our company who, one, have good grades, who are doing well academically, because it's going to require a lot of time outside of class.
I mean, yeah, you do have to be kind of on top of your stuff. Like, you can't just be missing class all the time and have terrible grades and expect to be selected for something that's going to take you out of class.
Number two, I'm looking for actors who I think have the right temperament for tour, who know how to sort of stay in their lane and in their bubble when you're 6 hours on the road in a van.
I guess there's always been some kind of unspoken clause in becoming a member of this touring company. I have never had a bad time on tour.
We created an incredibly special bond on tour that was very, very different from how we treated each other at school, I think.
I'm looking for, obviously, actors who I think are ready for this experience and who are ready to be up at 6 in the morning and load in the van and be at the school by 8, and who are going to get the experience, get what's happening. Because what they don't get is any pay, they don't get any scholarships. They are doing it because they want this experience and they want to try their hand at this tour.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one of the really interesting pieces of Hamlet was that you carried everything in one trunk and you could just play to the size of your space.
There's a giant difference from performing in a proscenium than performing in a cafeteria with a pole in the middle, and you're trying to work around that, and children.
Sometimes you didn't know where you were performing until you got there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Sometimes we have all the room in the world. We're on a giant stage that normally does bus and truck Broadway tours.
You got all this space, and then you have no space at all, so you're all crowded. And
the good thing is that we planned for it, and so we tried to make that easily changeable, and it wasn't a static thing. It could easily just morph to whatever we needed it to do.
It pushes you more to be a better actor and to be more adaptable and figure things out.
I'm gonna let them know. I don't know what time we're starting. I'm just gonna let them know we're ready.
It definitely trained me. So when I got out of college and I started touring for the National Theater for Children, I was above and beyond prepared.
The only thing I can compare it to is like I played basketball, and you would go to other places to, compete or perform.
Was it useful for you?
Oh, I think so,
Okay.
definitely. If for nothing else, for the fact that so many of them wanted to act like they didn't get it, but they did. The language is a barrier. I can't understand it. I don't know what's going on. You have to read Shakespeare out loud.
Yes.
You have to hear it, and it's meant to be heard.
Almost every time that I get to work with Riley or Dell, someone who who's taught me in some respect and I get to work with professionally, it's like a treat.
I was so nervous because I had hardly done anything at all before it.
my first year, I was more focused about impressing Dell. And so the whole time I was like focusing, don't mess up, be perfect,
It is extremely intimidating, but Dell was very inviting. Yes, I'm giving you blocking, and yes, this is what we have done, but that doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be.
While we both graduated from Southeastern, we both come from very different thoughts, a school of thoughts when it comes to acting. So
It seemed to me what a great opportunity for these students to get to work with someone who's heavily invested in method training and somebody who's heavily invested in technical training.
it is so gratifying to work with students, not only in the classroom, but in a practical classroom.
You only really get the opportunity to work with people that are outside of your age range when it's like summer stock theater or your community theaters. But there's not that mentor-student relationship, which is a completely different dynamic that you get here.
In a classroom setting, they're telling you what to do, but when you're on stage with them, that's something completely different. You're able to feed off them. And
It's not professor and student right now, it's actor and actor. Connect and make it work.
I noticed this with music professors, when students have to play alongside their professors. They will rise to the challenge. Students always will want to rise to a challenge given to them.
Thank you guys so
a while to have to understand the language and the storyline.
Why did you decide to break Hamlet into 3 separate pieces?
Did the split personalities also end up fighting the same
When
way?
she slapped you, did it hurt?
Well, you know, I can't say it doesn't.
Did doing the performance together make you guys closer?
Why was Hamlet always staged in levels?
Purple represents royalty, right? But the white one is that like ghost.
What was the white one? Yeah. But also the ghost of a king. Right. That's what I'm trying to do.
Part of the learning curve of what the actors are learning about touring is these are your costumes. Take them, take care of them. If they're wrinkled, put them in the bathroom to steam while you take a shower. Whether it's costumes or any of the tour is how to be adaptable. I can't find a needle. How am I going to fix this hem? Well, here's some tape. That skill makes our students so employable just because people want to work with them.
This is the most concise and complete version of Hamlet that I've ever experienced. It was absolutely fantastic.
I absolutely loved it. But it's just like they broke it down well as actors and different things like that. And I just thought they got their point across very well.
I was at a conference for theater educators. Those faculty members were asking about how we afforded to take the tour, how we received clearance to take the tour. And I sort of explained into this sort of a long list of things that have to be right. The time of the year in which it happens, the students that are involved. In terms of funding, we just decided to take out this minimal amount of money and put it towards this very worthy endeavor. It's not extravagant, but I think even that, there's the sort of charm of that, the actor's life. It's you, me, and a trunk, and we're out on the road in a van that we hope makes it. And we've definitely had experiences.
Okay, we went to Tulsa, which I am a little biased. I'm from there.
I like Tulsa. I don't know, it just reminds me of like the Midwest.
There were a lot of great schools that I'd never been to or even knew about that we went to there.
The most memorable one is the Great Globe of Southwest. That place is awesome because it's a lifelike replica of the Globe Theater. And it's in Odessa, Texas, and I never figured that it would be out there.
There was just so much energy and magic in that room.
Such a great place, such a beautiful space, in such a moment for us to all share, with that love of Shakespeare that we all had.
Being in a car with Dell and Riley and Kathleen, I mean, being around them for a week and just having fun, on those car rides, making it not boring for everybody. Those are probably my most favorite memorable moments.
You get a lot of cool experience, I guess. But I feel like Eureka Springs is just number one.
This incredible, very small Victorian tourist town tucked up in the Ozark Mountains of northern Arkansas.
Everything is hills and ivy growing everywhere and trees just random places.
We contacted Eureka Springs High School. Would you mind if we performed for your students? It said, absolutely. How many can you do?
I remember one time we went out there to perform and the performance got canceled and we were like, well, we're here.
That gave us the opportunity to bond. And I think that's one of the parts I remember most of the tour. And I feel like it kind of just gave us a mental break. And I kind of felt like that was like our little vacay.
Yeah, these are great experiences, and I encourage my colleagues. There's going to be a million reasons why you can't do something like this with your students. None of them are good enough reasons.
Yeah, so give me just a second. Are you guys ready to roll already, or?
We need to grab some stuff out of the
have to unload. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know where it originated, but we have had the saying for a long time, the king is in the house. And to me, that really represents what we do on the Hamlet tour. We don't know who the king is, but if we can make one kid feel connected, the king is in the house makes a whole nother thought process when you go in for your 74th show.
Our small tour of Hamlet could be certainly the first, if not the only time, these students will ever hear Shakespeare's language performed live. That's That's a powerful responsibility.
The kids have to have a choice, have to know that it's out there. If they don't know it's out there, then how are they ever going to pursue it? It's painted as a picture that it's untouchable. There's no way that anybody can go out there and reach that. Well, that's not true.
Me, man! This is such a meaningful experience for people, and this is something that just does so much, not only for individuals, but for a community. And it's so depressing every time I hear news about home.
Hi, I'm Ben Felder with the Oklahoman. It is Tuesday. We're back out here at the state capitol as the teacher walkout continues, as teachers and education advocates continue to lobby the legislature for an increase in public school funding.
You see a lot of schools in Oklahoma getting budget cuts, not just on the high school level, but on the college level as well.
There aren't theater programs anymore. The choir teachers are trying to fill that gap, or the English teachers are trying to fill that gap.
Our school this year has to do 4 days a week because we don't have the budget.
A lot of people think that the performing arts are just like this fluffy, fun thing that doesn't really affect anything else or doesn't really help anything else.
They think it's a waste of time, that you can't make a living doing anything like that. There's been so many times in the past 5 years that I wasn't gonna make rent if I didn't have $50, and I could go out and literally do something on a street corner.
Art saved my life, saved a bunch of kids' lives, and like it can save more.
I know a lot of people, they go into theater and they end up becoming who they were meant to be. And I feel like whenever you're doing theater, you have way more room to express yourself. You have way more room to grow.
You can do theater with nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you can do theater with a script.
We're not asking for people to fund us to come to see them or anything like that. We're literally asking for 6 chairs. We ask for 6 chairs and a plug-in.
This is an educational tool that will pass on this tradition of theater and this tradition of Shakespeare to people who would otherwise not know anything about it.
I think it's also super important to the kids that don't have anything to want to pursue a career in the arts. They have to have that influence just to have their minds open.
Listen, there is nothing like those students who weren't gonna have it, weren't interested, were drug into the room, scowling at you. I dare you to entertain me.
Brother's wife. And what it were not so, you are my mother.
Oh, that's not what I expected.
It was marvelous, honestly.
I did. I enjoyed it very much.
There wasn't a single moment during the production where I wasn't captivated.
Whenever you look out and see the kids that are, they're here for the elective, they're even enthralled. They were enthralled too. So anytime that you can captivate the kids and they're not doing something like that, it's a good thing. So.
Go, everybody smile. Go Rams.
When you look back on periods of time, everything that everyone talks about is science and art. And so to cut one of them doesn't make sense, because then what are we going to be learning years from now? Just science? No, probably not. It's all important.
And there you are. There's hardly anything, any part or sort of subset of our communication that isn't influenced by him. That this man had something to say about the entire human experience over the course of his many, many plays.
So all that to say, it is a huge treasure. Had I known that it existed when I was in high school, I would have wanted to watch it.
You send kids across like a state or a couple states to like perform. Like, there's no harm in that.
Had I not been able to go on the road, there were opportunities I probably would have missed out on when I went to New York, and I was able to work on a national tour.
For our theater students who are getting the opportunity to tour, it is as good as we can spend our budget dollars.
If I could do it again, I absolutely would.
It made me dive deeper into every other character I played. Because after you spend 3 years with a character, you know how much you can find, and now you want to find that with your other ones in 2 months.
It makes me proud of this program. It makes me proud of the tradition of education and of community service.
I am thankful every day for those people and what they did for me and what they did for that community. They set me on a path, and now I'm living it. And I thank them so much. I love them.
I've been forever thankful for it because it's sort of the best thing that ever happened to me in college.
The purpose of the time is out of join a study of Hamlet is to open our minds to this playwright, to share this work with our students and the experience of touring with all that it comes with, and then to share that with our community and our region, primarily students, who may never have heard Shakespeare performed, and to hopefully add to the chorus of other artists and teachers who are trying to lift those students up. And I think that is a noble, noble effort. And at the same time, it is exciting and fun and an incredibly worthwhile thing to spend your time doing.
So, permit us, players to this tragedy, who prologue like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge. Our play.